Ryan Roulette got turned around off turn number 4 and made contact with the outside retaining wall with the left side of his race car, ending his night prematurely. Here's what happened.
Yeah, our third place car, Gio Ruggiero, just drove by me. He was up a little bit high on the racetrack, maybe a little bit higher than anybody he had gone before, and he just lost control, made some slight contact with a safety barrier. There's Gio going by, and you see him up in the third lane. We haven't seen many cars do that at all, but he has pulled that car behind the wall.
Roulette making his first Iowa start. This is night. That car has been vulnerable of sliding up the racetrack. Zilish doing everything he can to keep his car off trouble. Van Olst, Amber Balkan, and Marco Andretti in a crash in turn 4.
That's second and third, and points involved in this accident with Van Olst and Amber Balkan.
And the front end of Greg Van Olst's car, as well as the whole left side, is badly damaged. And for Amber Balkan, who just came back from that hard crash at Dover a handful of races ago, is really looking forward to her opportunity to get back on track here at Iowa after being able to continue to work her way through the rounds at Kansas and Charlotte. And we are only 25 laps into this race, and I'm afraid the damage to both of those cars could in fact be terminal.
Watch him 3 wide getting down in the corner. Van Olst is on the bottom. Looks like he gets a little bit of a bump possibly from Amber and carries both of them into the outside wall, as well as the 17 of Marco Andretti.
That was the battle for 11th, 12th, 13th place respectively, with more cars in the mix. Christian Rose, that may be a Reese's Sweet Move of the Race nominee right there. He just barely got by on the top side.
Yeah, totally agree with you on that one. Mason Mitchell as well, up out of the groove.
Greg Van Olst and Amber Balkan, as Phil mentioned, 2 at the top 3 in the championship points. Andres Perez was able to get by. Here's Marco Andretti, who picked up an IndyCar victory here back in 2011. We mentioned a potential Reese's Sweet Move of the Race nominee. How about this ride with that of Mason Mitchell, his return to ARCA competition? Look out.
Well, he saw that he needed to give Amber some room, and he did, moved way up out of the groove. There's D.L. Wilson, the 39 as well. You could hear that car hard on the brakes, a little bit of wheel hop, but he was able to get it slowed down in time.
Good news for that of Wilson. By virtue of not being involved in that incident, he was actually our receiver.
A little bit too tight and shoved him up a few grooves, but he said the car is coming to him on the long run as we have a caution here.
Trouble in turn number 4, and it is a car that was running in the 3rd spot at the time. Our pole sitter, Gio Ruggiero, has backed it into the wall. Doesn't appear to be too much damage to the left rear.
I'm not sure there's any damage. He may have got that thing stopped before it got into the outside wall. He's going to give up all his track position.
We saw how loose this car was a handful of laps ago, right into the setting sun in turn 3.
You could hear the rear tires chatter as he got down in the corner, just got loose. This racetrack is cooling off, and a lot of the crew chiefs said they thought that would make this racetrack free up, as you can see off in the distance. Him getting sideways, maybe slight contact, but I don't think enough to hurt that car. Racetrack could possibly be freeing up.
4th caution of the night.
Earlier about this racetrack last year, this is one of her better races where she finished 5th, but she said it's changed a lot as we see the caution out.
Hard crash for Chris Wright in the 15, and piling in also is the number 93 of Cody Dennison in his first start for this race team in 2024, and both cars are badly damaged in 1 and 2.
Tough break for one of our regulars. We talked about Chris Wright. Had a runner-up finish earlier this year, running full-time this year for Venturini's. First time he's made this effort in the ARCA Menard series. He might be able to continue, but that car looks pretty wounded.
Certainly a lot of fluid being left behind, as Wright is going to try to drive that car back to the pit area. He was running up in the top 10. In fact, he was running 4th, so in the top 5 for that of Chris Wright. And Dennison, who was just announced this past week that was going to move over to the CW, Costner Weaver Motorsports team, for the remainder of the season. This was his 5th ARCA Menard Series start. And he does have 2 top 10 finishes on the ARCA Menard Series East side so far this year. And in talking to Cody, he was mentioning how he felt that it was a bit of an equalizer, that this racetrack had been repaved and redone, and even though he doesn't have much experience here, he could be in position to do quite well. Unfortunately, the night will come to an end with 28 laps to go. At the time of the crash, he was outside the top 10 and 4 laps off the leaders.
Yeah, he was running up in the top 15, so he was going to have a decent finish, but what a tough break for Chris Wright. As you mentioned, he was running in the 4th spot.
While Wright was able to drive his car back to the pit area, the number 93 of Cody Dennison will not be as fortunate. The Hogs Bluff, Alabama native is going to see his car go off on the hook after this crash in turns 1 and 2 to slow the field, and that will make us now 2 of the last 4 ARCA Menard Series races that will not make it to the end after the race break. Let's try to take a look at what happened. Right side of your picture.
Right over there, that's where they are. Looked like maybe Chris was trying to get under the 93 of Dennison to put him another lap down. And they both make hard contact with a safer barrier.
Really hard shot for both cars. Drivers in tonight's field. 2 of them representing the top 2 spots as Sawalich almost runs into the back of Michael Maples off 2.
Yeah, that's
In trouble. LeVar Scott spins off turn 2.
You know what that means, don't you, Eric?
Another restart.
Another restart.
Scott was running in the top 10 at the time of the spin. No major contact for his Rev Racing number 6 car. And that will be caution number 8.
Keep an eye on the 20 of Ruggiero. He's going to be in that 2nd row on the inside. We have seen how Zilich and Sawalich will go after each other. Ruggiero may be in a great spot there in 3rd.
This was a fight for the 6th position. This happened in turn number 4. There's Scott in the 6, up way loose, almost into the wall. And now watch Gustine in the 55 going around Alex Club in the 03, and things just tighten up way too much in turn 1. And Scott, who got up into some of that speedy drive from the crash that took out Chris Wright, boy, he tried to hang on for that car almost the full duration of the corner.
Yeah, Gustine had committed to trying to go around that lap car. I don't think LeVar actually thought that Gus was in there far enough. They made contact. I can't put any